What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the R&P Podcast, giving you opinions on topics you've never asked for. I'm your host, PLAX. I'm here with my co-host, Rick. Rick, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. This podcast, as you can probably tell if you're looking at this on YouTube, is a little different than what we usually did, and that's because we have an extra special guest. We reached out to him. I reached out to him on social media. He had a post he wanted to, kind of guest on some podcasts, talk about a couple different things, and we thought it'd be great to have him here on R&P. And so I'd like to introduce Ben Walker-Storey to the R&P podcast.
Thanks for having me, you guys. That's awesome. I didn't realize you guys didn't usually do guests.
Yeah, we do it from time to time, but it's not a frequent thing, I'd say. It's just every once in a while type of thing.
Wow.
But we are very glad to have you. Oh, no, you're fine. You are fine. So how you doing
on us?
Yeah. Pressure's on us to make this. Hey, you're our first out-of-town guest.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
We've always done local. So,
we've always done local celebrities and stuff like that. We've never talked to anyone that wasn't from our city. So that you are a first. You are a first.
Where are you guys?
Oh, we're in Buffalo.
Buffalo, right.
Well, where are you from for the people, for the fans?
For the people, I'm from I've always just bounced around Northern California. So I grew up in like the North Bay and then skipped over to Sacramento and kind of bounced around back and forth. Now I'm up in the foothills. It's called Grass Valley.
Okay.
And it's a real haven for like hippies and rednecks equally.
Okay.
Sounds like an interesting place.
Yeah, that's how it is.
It is. It's
sounds like a
weird.
good time, but a little crazy at the same time.
It's pretty purple around here.
Oh, wow.
And, but nobody likes vaccines. But
Okay. The
that's
common
what they
ground.
That's what they have in common. But yeah, there's a lot of families that are kind of just, we're all just doing our business and keeping our heads down, and we're all inside by 7 o'clock. So I don't even know what goes on out here at night,
Okay. So Ben, we are extremely happy to have you. We are going to get into it. First question.
Well, he should probably introduce himself, kind of like what he does before we get into
That is true. I'm fumbling because I'm nervous, I think. I'm fumbling because I'm nervous. Ben, introduce yourself to the people.
Okay. Hey, I'm Ben Walker-Storey. I'm an illustrator, creator type, doing animations and graphics and whatever it takes to get by.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been doing it since a long time. I graduated from art school in like 2005, but I was doing all the tech boom stuff before that. And, when it crashed, I went to art school. So I've kind of been all over the place.
So were you always passionate about like illustration and animation, or was it because your first passion in tech kind of didn't go the way you wanted it to, so you transitioned?
No. Tech was never my passion, and has never been my passion. I've had jobs at like gaming companies. I worked with the guy who invented first-person shooters for a while.
Oh, really? Wow, that's crazy.
Well, now you guys are psyched. Yeah. No, and he had like a bronze business card that weighed like 5 pounds. It was pretty impressive. But I just once I got into art school, I just had to give up video games because it just sucks up your time, and you can't ever create anything. So the closest thing to video games for me would be like, I love making like electronica music sometimes, or that kind of thing. But if there's no like end result that I can like show people or whatever, I've kind of tried to steer clear of it. Anyway, I never was into what I was doing, and like in the late 90s, in this tech boom, this was this was the first .com boom, right? But you could be like a creative young person and just kind of wander in, is how I felt. Like they would just be scooping up creatives and not really even knowing what to hire them for specifically. They just want to have creative people around. Okay. So I kind of skated by on that for a few years until it all crashed in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. But before that, I grew up drawing, and I think I really got into it when me and a friend started looking at He-Man figures and studying anatomy, all that exaggerated anatomy on the He-Man figures, and got obsessed with Conan and barbarians and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of got us started and got me started. And then I started buying a lot of comics and copying Spider-Man and X-Men and all that kind of stuff. Back when that kind of thing could get you beat up still.
Yeah. It's a little more popular now. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's really just a crazy lens to kind of look at it. Like now, that's all pop culture, like comic books, video games, stuff that, like you said, wasn't the coolest thing in the world
back in the day
to be a fan of. Yeah. And now it's like you're kind of the weird person out if you don't like any of that stuff now.
Yeah. No, I had a T-shirt in junior high. It's called middle school now. Sorry. It was Wolverine's hand. It was like a close up of his fist with the claws coming out, just right on your chest. And people always thought that was Freddy Krueger. They didn't even know what that was, you know.
Crazy.
You know,
that's crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy.
That would be the opposite.
Yeah, it's nice getting that a different perspective, because like we grew up mostly people were into that type of stuff. So to hear that different perspective is just like shocking a little.
Or at least they were more willing to say they were into that type of stuff by the time.
Or at least
by the time it really meant anything.
At least indulge in it a little bit, like go see a movie or something like that. But yeah, it's weird hearing that side of it. Can you tell us a little bit about Cheap Chills?
Yeah, Cheap Chills is, you know, what it actually is keeps changing, but it's basically my production company. I'm a one person production company, and it started as basically an Instagram feed in 17, I think it was 2017, and it quickly turned into a podcast with me and my wife, where you know, she's super smart and quick witted and has a great sense of humor, but she doesn't know any of this pop culture stuff. You know, she knows like Grease and Grease 2. That's what she grew up watching over and over
Adults
again.
play as teenagers.
Exactly. So, but she doesn't know like Nightmare on Elm Street from, you know, The Tingler. I don't know. So I would show her trailers for like B movies and monster movies and like Bigfoot movies and whatever. We just show her like a 1 or 2 minute trailer, and I'd get her thoughts and reactions on it. And it was always just like such outsider, weird thoughts that I just thought it was very entertaining.
I love B movies, like B horror movies. Me and my grandmother would watch them all the time on like Sci-Fi and stuff. Like one of my favorite I guess B horror movies is Lake Placid. I love Lake Placid so much, and it's a terrible movie though.
But I feel like that's a little meta, that one. It feels a little self-aware as far as being cheesy on purpose, where they didn't they have like Betty White on there swearing all the time, and they
they
did.
And like the second one or something like that. Yeah, they had that, and then they. At first, it was slightly larger than normal, like alligators or crocodiles, and then by the third one, they were like the size of like a yacht, and so they really fed into that, and so just the idea, because trailers for those type of movies are confusing if you don't know what you're kind of getting into. So I can only imagine what looking at like some of those trailers and just thinking about what the movie is supposed to be about, what kind of confusions that happen.
How do y'all feel about the Wrong Turn movies? Are those considered B movies?
I wouldn't think so.
When was that made?
Oh, that was more. I think that was more recent, right?
Yeah, that was more. Yeah, that Wrong Turns were more recent,
like 2015-ish.
Yeah, at least the first couple ones, I wouldn't put them in the B horror category. Probably as they got into like, I think like they got as high as like 4 or 5. Or
they went pretty far with the movies.
I would put B horror movies are like the cheesy ones.
Yeah, I just love like 70s movies, and I've just kind of doubled down on understanding that that's the pace and the music that I like, and the slow build, often way too slow. You know, but I like that. I don't really enjoy gore or anything like that. So for being so like horror and monster centric, like real gore, I've gotten like PTSD situations from it, like where I get really effed up. I don't know if you guys swear or anything, but I get.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I've gotten super fucked up from the wrong movie being in front of me, where it just like sits with me forever, and I can't. So it's like an anxiety thing, really. So it's like a little tango dance that I have to do with choosing movies, you know, where it's like a little bit of a flirtation with just getting freaked out over, you know, over something.
Really, in terms of gore, I feel like the 70s and 80s were like a really like not a high point, but that was when like people were a little bit more experimental with trying to like gross people out. But those effects are so cheesy that it might not matter that much, you know.
There's cheesiness, there's, you know, just low budget, or not trying to necessarily, maybe they weren't trying to gross people out the way they do. Like the blood colors are different now. Like back then, in the 70s, blood was orange, you know, like orange thick paint. And now it's like this black bile that you know, people are vomiting on each other. And that is my favorite.
Yeah, like Tremors. I know Tremors. I love
Tremors.
Tremors. I love all the Tremors. Tremors 1 with Kevin Bacon is probably my favorite though. Can't go wrong with that one. But that especially in that one. Yeah, you're right. Like I guess the blood in those movies were like bright enough to be Kool-Aid, and like and you could see kind of like the kind of like clay mold from like the prosthetics and stuff. So it wasn't it wasn't that bad. But yeah, now it's just how realistic can you get, and how bad can you make it look in terms of now, especially with like the new movies and stuff.
Want people to walk away grossed out and throwing up. That's how they do. I will say I'm learning stuff about Rick. I've known Rick for a very long time. I did not know you were that much into B. I knew you liked them, but
I loved them.
Yeah, you've been naming a couple.
I don't like current.
You don't like current B movies?
Okay. No, but like Tremors, Lake Placid, Pumpkinhead, all those old old ones I used to watch all the time. So those are my favorite. But speaking of that stuff though, so how did you kind of like transition from like you said you were like kind of like drawing like comic book stuff and whatnot into like the kind of like gothic Halloween-esque design of like Cheap Chills and like the kind of stuff that you kind of put out?
Yeah, it's weird. I grew up like liking a lot of things, including, you know, these B monster movies and stuff, but also like being a little standoffish about horror and stuff. And like I said, but I got a job at a place called Famous Monsters of Filmland. You ever heard of that magazine? They basically invented, you know, geek culture as a thing to monetize in a way. Like they were the first magazine in the 50s to go behind the scenes with how these monster movies were made and doing interviews with Boris Karloff or whatever. And they would you know, show how the prosthetics were put on, and it was all very kind of tongue-in-cheek and a lot of dumb puns about monsters and gore and stuff.
I think I've seen that before. Now that I think about it, that saying the behind the scenes, I seen something about that. I think they might have did a documentary about it.
Yeah,
I feel like, or something like that.
And in the back, there were always these like ads for the like Dawn Post masks. And, like order a giant fly or a monkey or something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds really familiar for some reason.
So that magazine has kind of died and been reborn a couple times, and now died again. And so I was hired as like a bottom end graphic designer at like age 43 or something to just do the grunt graphics work. I was just desperate for a job, and I thought the subject matter was cool, so I was like, sure, you know, maybe I'll work my way up or something. And I kind of did. The place was not what I was expecting at all. Super tiny little group of people running this thing, and mostly it was a t-shirt sales company. You know what I mean? They made all their money off selling these old covers, these Go-Go's covers on t-shirts. And it was very like niche and who they were trying to reach with this stuff. But there was something about it that like struck me like, oh, I grew up on a lot of this stuff without even really realizing it. You know, especially that junk in the back of the magazines, the kind of ephemeral stuff that you don't think about. And so the ties to like rockabilly and punk culture a little bit, where they got a hold of that stuff, the Cramps and those kind of things. So I really responded to like the subject matter and the look of it and everything, and I wanted to like take the look of them, of their merch especially, but the magazine, and like really kind of, I mean, art direct it really. And somehow I ended up
Yeah.
getting a job, getting moved up to art director because of
Mm.
Oh
some
wow.
weird,
Mm-hmm.
some weird things that happened with the other employees disappearing out of nowhere.
Oh. Oh man. Okay. Well, get it how you get it, right?
Yeah, way too personal for them. But the fact is, a couple people made it so the owner of the company had to scurry, and all of a sudden I was art director.
Mm.
And so
Crazy.
really all I had time to do was make like a new like look and feel book, you know, like an art direction book.
Mm-hmm.
And I just laid everything out. This stuff's going to look like this, and we're going to use these kind of textures and colors, and I'd have like example t-shirts that I found on Pinterest or whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of just laid it all out, and they hated it.
Mm.
They
Really?
hated everything that
Mm.
I came up with. So much so that like the like assistant manager was like, well, we'll think about it, you know, let's set it aside for now. And the owner of the company didn't even like talk to me about it. And suddenly I just was put onto another role lower down. And shortly after, we kind of parted ways, and it wasn't a great parting or anything. So it was actually a pretty short career there. But anyway, I left with like these ideas of things that I wanted to make, things I wanted to do, animations, you know, t-shirts, um, ideas.
Mm.
So I just was like, this will be my art direction book now. I'll just change the name and I'll do other things, but it'll all kind of have this look and feel.
Mm.
So I just ever since have been gravitating toward all that stuff.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. What
Would
made
you-
you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rick. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna ask him, like, since you kind of fell into like your own niche in that sort of way, is there any other? Do you think you pull from another style when you add to when you like make these types of artworks or these types of like merchandise or anything, or do you feel like you're trying to stay true to kind of like what you've seen when you kind of got influenced by it or inspired by it?
Yeah, I think with what I've been doing, it keeps. I mean, I thought I had ADHD for a while. Turns out that it wasn't ADHD specifically, but I still kind of have those tendencies where I keep bouncing around on things.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of resolved myself to know that I'm going to need a few things to bounce around to, but also whatever I want work on that I'm building up will kind of keep changing as far as what I want it to look like, and I'll just get inspired by the next thing I see, and it'll kind of
Yeah.
keep evolving. But they kind of come around full circle and end up being my thing that's influenced by others. So for sure, like I was kind of more influenced by this Famous Monsters specific stuff at first with Cheap Chills of just like you know, these old monster graphics and costumes and that sort of thing. But I'm also interested in like old, you know, cartoons and comic books and like horror comics. And I like stuff that's like, my favorite stuff is scary when it's not supposed to be scary, or funny when it's supposed to be scary. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Anything
Okay.
that makes it funny and scary in that right way is what I've really been trying to focus on, at least with my Instagram feed and the kind of stuff that I'm doing now.
Okay.
So there's a lot of influences for sure.
I was just gonna ask really quick, what made you? Because the name is just so like kind of out there. What made you pick the name Cheap Chills? Was it something you already had, or you just thought of it on the spot? How'd you think of that?
It's funny. I mean, when you have an idea for any kind of business or anything like that, you gotta do all this Googling, and you gotta go on tests, you know, and make sure it's not trademarked or whatever. So there was nothing going on with that name really when I thought of it, and I thought of it because at first I was just gonna like basically recommend movies. Like I said, I love. I've been really, you know, I had been streaming a lot of movies on mostly Amazon Prime, where they just have this bottomless stuff that's been uploaded on Amazon Prime. And, you know, obviously the lower the budget, the more of it they're going to have. Constantly license it. I don't know exactly.
Yep.
But you can just go lower and lower with the quality of the stuff. But they have like cool, weird, you know, B-movie posters to them and stuff. And so I would end up clicking on this stuff and be like, what's this? Oh, it's unwatchable. well, what's this? Oh, okay. This is clear, clear enough of a picture that I can check it out for a while. And if I actually like something, I might write it down. And so I thought, well, there's got to be other people who are like doing this that want like maybe to hear about movies that are worth watching for free.
Yeah.
Streaming service, hence the cheap, right?
Okay.
And then
Okay.
the chills would be kind of the chilling kind of spookiness.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of it was a play on cheap thrills.
Sure, that too.
Yeah.
It all works. Let's see. When it comes to like, I guess you transitioning from being an employee to kind of being your own boss and everything like that, especially in the art and entertainment forum, like how hard of a transition was that?
Oh, that's a trick question. I mean, it's like it's hard, and it's kind of the only choice that I have, you know what I mean? Which is still hard to do and to pull off. And I'm still like trying to make it all work. My wife just sells vintage clothing now, so nobody in this household taking care of our small child who keeps lurking behind me, which is why. We're all trying to take care of a family and stuff, and we're all just working for ourselves. So that part is always, I would say, nerve-wracking and hard, but in a way it's not, because you know who's in charge, and you're not gonna get let go for no reason. At some point. I've been laid off, let go.
It'd be tough to fire yourself,
along, right? So many times, especially during all those tech boom times, where companies just be like, hey, everybody, we're gonna be restructuring for stocks. We want to look good with our stock options when we go public. Don't worry, everybody is gonna be fine. We're all doing great. Meeting over. Ben, can we talk to you in a moment?
Oh no,
man.
There always be like a handful of people that still get let go after that talk, and I seem to be in that handful. And it's probably because I was flaky or bouncing around with ideas and not following through on things, or being
or maybe because you was meant to do your own thing.
Or maybe because I was meant to do my own thing. When it's your own thing, you work harder at it, and you're not as likely to say, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do this for somebody else, to make somebody else their dream come true. So in that part, it's easy. And it's the same way with my wife and her clothing. It's just like so much easier to be excited about it.
Yeah, when it's your own stuff, or it's for your own your own well-being, your income and anything like that, there is that extra probably oomph of passion and kind of like you have to follow through, because who else is going to make you follow through? Like it's you. And
I can't agree with the statement of you just be sitting there doing your work and you're like, I don't want to be doing this for somebody else. I've definitely Rick, no, I've felt that a lot at different jobs.
I was doing a Comic-Con, God, it was like 10 years ago now. For a while I was getting the big booth like right next to Sony and everybody, and like really trying to compete with the big tech companies and everything, so you'd have to like really glitz it up with your booth and everything. And so I was between like Sony, Nickelodeon, and then there was like sort of an independent video kind of licensing thing. I don't know, they had a big cutout of Elvira up at their booth.
Really?
And they were promising that Elvira was going to show up, and they were I think full of it. But anyway, at the end of it, they had been busy. I'd been doing okay, but they were busy. But I overheard one of the ladies working there talking to her, like her boss, and he was like, how was it? What did you think of Comic-Con? And she's like, it was fine. And she kind of like pointed towards me and goes, I wish I was like, selling my stuff. It's not very interesting selling,
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get it.
How'd that make you feel when you heard her?
Great, it feels great. Even if they made more money or whatever.
Right.
It's cool. Comic-Con is great if you do it upright, because people are not there for you. They're there to get like a signing by the people from Lost or whatever the new show is. I haven't been there in a few years, but
Lost is not.
Lost is not.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things now. Yeah. Thank you. You can fix that in post.
Got you.
And so when they're walking by, they're charging by to go like get a signing from somebody, whoever plays 11 or something. And then they might do a double take and be like, "Oh, what is that?" And then they'll like wheel around back and look at your stuff. And it's cool, especially like if something caught their eye, like a T-shirt, and then that one's out of their size, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, what about these others?" They just want to get something, a piece of your art, and like leave with having like that piece of you, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of
No, that sounds like kind of like what every business that's kind of starting out or entrepreneur that's going out on their own. That's kind of the goal they want, is to be able to catch someone's eye, even if they weren't necessarily looking for them in the first place.
right.
And being able to kind of like you said, get them to take a piece of you home. Like it's like you're doing this for a reason, and this person kind of like validated it just that little bit. You know?
I mean, you'll also get the people who don't like it, and that's fun too. Like,
at least you're getting feedback depending on how far they want to go with it.
My target market was always like the 30, 40 something guy. And there'd be like the guy come over and like I said, looking at stuff, and his wife would come over and he'd be like, what do you think of these? Should I get this one? Or I would see wives being like, like shaking their head,
like, why would you get that? But,
why not, Lucy? Like, why not?
But they'll break away when something else interesting happens. They'll be like, oh yeah, here, take this. I gotta get back real quick.
She told me not to get it, but I really needed it, and then he ran away.
Do you have a man cave?
That's kind of like how I want this to kind of end up, kind of like being somewhere with our own little thing, even if it's not the biggest thing in the world, just being able to be somewhere and then have someone come by and be like, oh, you guys do this, or you guys have this, and this seems really interesting, or we seen you and we want to come and check it out. That always, I feel like is a feeling that I really want to have or strive for, kind of.
And that's kind of what we say when we have our weekly meetings about stuff. Is just like we feel like the content is there. We just need to get the eyes. If we get the people to look at us, we feel like we could gain more fans. So we kind of understand that in that sense. You just need the people to look at you, and you'll get more traction from that.
So you said you were doing it for about a year now.
Yeah.
Now.
It's weird with all this stuff. I've noticed, especially with Cheap Chills, that you hope the trajectory is just like a 45-degree staircase or whatever. But it's just like it's like a skate ramp. It's just like flat and then you have to do that like 3 years of basic flatness. Like the Cheap Chills, my Instagram was just sitting at like 1,000 people for like 3 years, and then just this year it just huge growth every day. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything different really. It's just weird. You guys are following now. Okay, that's cool.
I feel like it's like I think it's the back catalog that people really look for, like people, because if you follow something that you like early, there's not a lot of that content, or even they might even pass over something that there's not a lot of, because they're like, I want to kind of like fall
binge
into something.
And that's what people like binging now. So that's that's what they want to do.
And so if you have 3 years of content, and like this is their niche, like they like 70s, 80s horror movies, or like talking about it, or just art in general, and they stumble across your page that's a combination of all that, and you have 3 years worth of stuff, even if it's just like pictures or anything like that, that's 9 times out of 10 they're gonna follow.
And that's like with songs too. Like sometimes an artist will put something out and forget about it, and 2 years later it's trending, and they like this was a 2-year-old song. Like, I don't even know why. I don't know why this happened.
Or one person likes the song or the content that's really like I guess more influential or anything like that, and then they share it. And then it booms like that, like when we talk about Stranger Things. If you ever heard that song that's now everywhere,
Running up the hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was a big fan before.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
I was a big fan before it blew up, but it's like not a lot of people knew that song, but but Stranger Things kind of like
that one's from my generation. There was this video which, if you guys ever want to see, it like basically changed my life when I was 18, when you'd still go and rent a VHS. And I was listening to, I mean, pretty mediocre to lame music in high school. I was listening to like Jethro Tull and like the Moody Blues and Phil Collins and stuff.
Hey baby, I'm recording, okay? Can you go sit with Grandpa?
I rented this video that was like, it was called the Prince's Trust Rock Gala, and it was all these British bands, and I rented it because I wanted to see Jethro Tull and Phil Collins sing. Please? But right out of the gate, first band was Madness, doing a cover of Madness. So I'd never even heard ska before. That was amazing. And then a couple of songs in was Kate Bush. I don't think she was doing Running Up That Hill. She was doing a different song, but she's beautiful, and she's like belting out this song, and she's got this little spaghetti strap dress on, and halfway through the song, when she starts to get kind of ramped up with the energy, the spaghetti strap goes foop and pops off, and she's like trying to keep from flashing like the Prince, Prince Charles and the entire world.
Oh
man,
like,
holding it. And that was pretty cool. That's when I discovered Kate Bush.
Yeah, I guess
go ask Grandpa for your ice
that's
cream.
A point of discovery.
Go ask Grandpa for your ice cream.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, because it was on your post and I was very interested about it. What does it mean to be an Amazon influencer?
Okay.
Oh yes, I'm an influencer now. Well, they have these like affiliate programs, like a lot of companies might, where if you have somebody click your link to go to their site to buy something, you get a little cut, and it doesn't add any expense to the buyer. It's just it's like a little thank you royalty from the company. So Amazon has their affiliate program, which I was in, and I've never earned a dime from. But I realized you need to have a decent social media following to be an influencer. And I just realized like 2 weeks ago, oh, my Instagram has picked up lately. I'm going to reapply again and see. And sure enough, I got it this time. So with that, I think you get a better cut if somebody clicks through. I've got my coloring books. I've got some coloring supplies, putting up the T-shirts, whatever else that I can kind of point people to, whether they're my products on Amazon or just products. I'll get a cut, and if they buy my product, then I get a royalty from that and the influencer cut. So I'm trying to build that up right now.
Okay.
Also, you can do these lives, which is like QVC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it's all seems to be technology, video games, things like that. Or a lot, it seems like it's 80-90% women and their beauty products.
Yes.
So I was going on there and doing these live animated things, and I kept getting kicked off because there was no live person in front of the camera, but I was like animating it live with Character Animator. But I just don't think that the admins knew what they were looking at, so they kept kicking me off. But I would do these like shopping sprees with my monster character, who's the Cheap Chills.
That sounds cool.
Like kind of the ambassador. And so he would go out and look for, like, he would watch what is that, Werewolves on Wheels, great B movie about werewolves in the 70s who were bikers.
I think I've heard of that. I think I
heard of that too.
Amazing poster. The poster is going to be the highlight. The music is pretty good if you like that sort of Black Keys kind of 70s tribute kind of sound. And then the movie itself, good acting, but it's pretty slow. Anyway, so my character has watched this movie, and now he wants to shop and be a biker werewolf. So I would go on Amazon and pick out a werewolf mask, a helmet, a jacket, and whatever else I could get that would be thematically there. And I was able to like plug it into Character Animator, so that I was hoping that people would be watching and it would help me like shop. And I could just hit a key and choose this helmet, kind of like a choose your own adventure. Choose this jacket with it,
Okay, yeah.
That sounds fire.
This
Why would they
mask.
turn that off? That's
They just don't get it, man.
yeah, that
They
sounds
didn't know.
dope, man.
Yeah, they didn't
I don't
understand
know.
that.
I think that one. I think that one stuck around, but there was a
Okay.
couple others that I did that didn't make it, and I don't know. I don't know why. But so from now on, I think I'm gonna, be me on camera, and I'll just like color in my coloring book or something.
Okay.
Try to sell some coloring books.
You
The animations will be for other stuff.
speaking of the coloring books, I don't hear a lot. I hear people like we've talked to somebody that has a book, a poetry book, Demir Cocker, but we've never heard of anybody like selling coloring books. Like I know people sell them, but I never like seen somebody doing it on their own. What made you choose coloring books as as something to sell?
Well, there's two parallel motivations for that. It starts with me in kindergarten and
Okay.
those pens that smell like cherries and licorice. And
Oh yeah, the
the
scented
smelly
like
pens. Yeah.
yeah.
When I was in kindergarten, I already, was starting to like to draw and everything. I would draw little guys on motorcycles and whatever. And I was wandering around on my own for like free play time. And there was this area where these little girls were coloring, and they were all using these pens. And I was like, I like coloring. What are those? And I was interested in their smelly pens, and they were like, no, you can't join
not
us.
for
You
you.
can't touch my pens.
Not sharing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I really believe that might have been my first like experience with being excluded for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like feeling that pointlessness of childish, cruelty. And so there was something about those pens for the rest of my life that they always kind of would evoke those feelings a little bit of like, oh, those are for like people who are like above me, and those are too nice. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's messed up.
So me and my wife started playing with them, and we would go to these live art events in San Francisco where you would draw something and put it up on a cork board, and you and like a dozen artists would be there, and people would have a chance to buy something right there off of you. And we did it as like a prank almost, where she was drawing like hairy nutsack with blueberries, like blue balls.
Yeah.
And then people would be like, what is that? And she said, oh, they're balls. And they smell like blueberries, smell them. So she'd have people smelling her balls,
Oh my god.
So we do stuff like that, and I just had those pens around. I like, that's fun. On the other side of it is, all this print on demand stuff that I've been doing for the last 5 years or so. Mostly T-shirts is what I started off with the Amazon merch program. That's something you apply for, and you can make T-shirts, pop sockets. Now they do like handbags and a couple of things, but it's mostly about T-shirts. And I was getting kind of burnt out on that because I would spend, I'm an artist, so I would spend like sometimes a couple of days on a T-shirt design that I was like, this is going to be a hit. I just want to make hits and not worry about being like, I'm going to make everything for everybody like a lot of people do with that program.
Right.
Those people do better with those. This grandma likes unicycles. They would just like plug in different keywords and make a million T-shirts. Anyway, so my like bespoke T-shirts, just some of them would just never be seen by anybody, and I was like, I don't want to spend my time anymore doing that. So I looked into Kindle Direct Publishing more, which is Amazon's independent publishing platform. Anybody can apply, get their membership, and then or whatever account, and then you can publish whatever you want on paperback and now on hardcover too.
Okay.
And so most people are trying to fill out their thing the same way with a million notebooks that are like empty with like lines or music notes or planners or whatever. They'll just get like a little template and fill out a whole book quickly and then have a million covers. But again, I'm an illustrator. I'm like, I think I could focus more on having hits, And
Quality over quantity.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So I love doing line art, and I kind of lose interest after the line art is done anyway. I love, coming up with the initial sketch, planning it all out. I love the inking Inking is my favorite, phase of the art. And then when it's time to color, I get kind of stressed, and it's not my favorite part. I do it when I have to for illustration gigs and stuff. But if I can avoid it, great.
You will. Yeah.
Right.
coloring books, you don't have to have a story. You know, you have a theme or whatever, preferably like a title that would be something that people might be searching for, that subject matter. That's all you need. So then you just fill it out with a bunch of drawings that fit that like theme. And 8 months later, you got a, some of them take a while, but 8 months later, you got a coloring book. And so, yeah, I did my first one in like, I think it was 2019, and that was called Monster Funk. And that was because of those markers. You know, like, what do monsters smell like? So it was all, the subject matter was just, what do monsters smell like? They smell horrible. So there'd be like a little story about what that monster smells like on each page, and then that monster, and then, you know, there's a swamp monster, then there's King Kong, the Fly, whatever. And so it's, you know, little almost poems, try to make them funny, and then you can color. And I was trying to push the people would color with scented markers.
Okay.
And I was like, I could just keep doing this. This is fun, you know. This is easy. You can usually finish a page a day, maybe 2 or 3 days if it's a complicated page. So I kept doing them, and then when the pandemic hit, is this story too long?
No, not at all.
No, you're good. Yeah, go do your thing.
When the pandemic hit, Amazon shut down all their stuff that wasn't. You remember that? Like everything that wasn't vital to people's lives. Amazon was like, we're not shipping out or taking any orders unless it's like your food or your insulin or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they shut down all these print-on-demand services, and we were not. Nobody knew when it would come back. You know, they couldn't tell us. They didn't know. So I was like, well, I've had a few clients, but they were mostly like touring stand-up comics, so they weren't touring. So there was all my influence, you know, my influx of money was shut down. So I was like, well, I'm not going to make any money for, well, remember when it was going to be 2 weeks? For the next 2 weeks, maybe I'm not going to be making any money. I'll just draw what I want to do and not worry about how it could ever make money. So I just started drawing all the oddballs and the outcasts in my old yearbook collection. And it quickly turned into just drawing the goths. And then I started looking at YouTube videos of these, like, you know, they would document inside a goth club in the 80s and just be panning around as people are dancing. There's one in particular called The Height of Goth, which I highly recommend. That was another one that just changed my life. It's so slow and weird, but if that's your thing, it's hilarious, but it's real. It's a documentary in the truest sense, where they don't cut anything out. They just train the camera on people relentlessly, no matter who they are or why they're there. Really
a lot of awkwardness, man.
That could get crazy.
People talking and like bonking their hand in the microphone and everything, which I just did. Anyway, but there was these amazing, like, the first wave of people doing that goth punk look, where they weren't even called goths back then, right? They were kind of making up their own, you know, verbiage for what they were doing. They just wanted to be like modern and have fun, really. And that's when goths smiled, which I really gravitate towards too. You know, it was like the pre-selfie days. So I was seeking out these photos, these snapshots of goths that were smiling mostly, that were just living their lives and having fun, not posed. And so I turned that into a coloring book, and I turned it into a show for YouTube. It's called Let's Draw Goths.
Nice.
That was my second coloring book. And now I've just released my third one, which is called Costume and Mask, a Halloween Memories coloring book. And that's more snapshots, based on snapshots of kids on Halloween. But I like play with it and amp it up, make it kind of more of a fantasy scene. You know what I mean? Like they're living out their fantasy in the background, but they're still wearing their Ben Cooper outfit. That's kind of the concept of this last one here.
So out of all the merchandise you make, would you say coloring books are like your favorite?
They're my favorite to do, and at this point, like, you know, each one of them will sell at least one a day, which is fine. And the reason I did it, you know, especially with the Halloween one, I saw that you can, you know, kind of research these kind of things and see, obviously, you know, a month or two before Halloween, there's going to be a huge uptick. it's the old skate ramp again. So I thought I'll do one that's a daily seller for a couple months, get some reviews hopefully, and by the time Halloween season hits, hopefully this will be a hit and it'll kind of make up for having spent 9 months, working on it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
gotcha.
a good mindset to have.
Yeah.
So we have this is going to be our last question here, and it's the most important question that we always like to have people in whatever their field is kind of give to people, especially people who are starting out or kind of looking into what they're trying to be in life or anything like that.
Right.
What's some advice you would give to someone, whether it be an artist themselves, an entrepreneur, looking to go out on their own, or just someone who's just very passionate about something and they just want to know what they can do with that passion?
Yeah. Well, there's a few things. I'm like make stuff to show people or build your own things. Don't worry about fan art or other intellectual property. Google that.
Yeah.
You see a lot of like Comic-Con, you'll see the mashups of it's the Simpsons, but they're in the Rocky Horror outfits. I would just say steer clear of other people's intellectual property. Start coming up with your own stuff, or if you're not really a writer or imaginative that way, grab something that is in the intellectual the public domain. Sorry, public domain.
Okay.
And that's a whole other avenue for doing well with print-on-demand stuff and these books. A lot of people will do like their own cover and then format a book that's in the public domain. And it'll be like Pinocchio or the Wizard of Oz or whatever. These names that people do know and love. And so if you work with that, but make your own version of the Tin Man and Dorothy and everything, you can do well with that. As far as like if you want to like learn to draw and paint, my general advice for people is to make sure that you draw from life as much as possible, whether that's going out to coffee shops and drawing the people who are moving around doing things and breathing and not posing for you, and they're not flat in a photo or anything. It's gonna feel frustrating, but it helps you draw three-dimensionally in the long run and get that sense of life in your drawings. Where if you copy a photo or whatever, or especially somebody else's drawing, it's all the hard stuff's already been done. It's already flattened. It's already small. Especially if it's another drawing, it's already been kind of designed and figured out. So if you're like doing photorealistic, no offense, but if you're like doing photorealistic charcoal drawings of your favorite celebrities, it's not. It feels impressive, and you can show your grandma and stuff and be like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Right.
But it's not. It's not really that hard.
You didn't challenge yourself.
Right.
So make up your own like cartoon shapes and characters that aren't from, that aren't realistic, but also draw realistic people from real life. Try to get a model. Now that we're not in a COVID pandemic anymore, maybe we can get some.
You can go out and do it. Yeah.
And finally, if you want to draw and paint, I really recommend sculpting. That's really how I figured out like how to picture something in 3 dimensions and be able to really understand something 3-dimensionally enough to like translate it to a flat surface.
Okay.
It really helps to like get some of that clay that you can reuse. It's oil based, and you just practice sculpting people or whatever it is you want to draw, sculpt it too.
Okay.
Words to live by.
He just
broke
dropped
it
a
down.
ton of knowledge on all of you people in the art field. If you want to kind of grow, if you want to kind of figure out what your best steps are to kind of be a better artist or anything like that, he gave you the building blocks.
He did.
So it's up to you to do something with them.
Oh, and one more thing. Anxiety. Turned out I grew up with anxiety my entire life, including major like panic attacks in art school and stuff. Just like don't take it too seriously, and remember that it's supposed to be fun. And if it's not fun, maybe take a break and do something else. I got way too caught up in like the stress of like this has to be. I have to look like the hand of Michelangelo did that. And I have to impress everybody. Prove that I can draw hands. Like it shouldn't be stressful. Remember that it's supposed to be fun, and don't freak out.
Yeah, I feel like
that's beautiful advice too.
Most important advice. A lot of people are very scared to put down something that they really like when they don't like it in the moment, because they don't want to feel like they wasted their time. They're like, well, I put all this work into drawing playing games in some instances, or knowing about computers and whatnot. And if I put it down, like, what if I don't ever pick it back up? And you know, you got to think about it. What would you rather be? Would you rather be healthy mind, healthy body in terms of I'm okay now, I've put this down and I found something else that I like to do, and I'm starting over with this? Or would you rather have just kept slinking along in the rut you were in and what you were doing just because you know it the most? Or
and stressing out, because if you're stressing out,
your life doing it.
There's no point in doing it.
Yeah, you're not producing your best work stressed out.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really held me back for a long time into my adulthood was not willing to go 100% with my efforts, because I almost felt like if I really put 100% into this, and instead of being like kind of lackadaisical about it and I could do better, but I was in a hurry or whatever.
Yeah.
If you really sit down and put 100% into like, I'm going to try to do the best thing I can right now, and not stress out about it either, but let's put 100% of my skill into this.
Yeah.
If I do that and it looks bad, then there's proof that I suck.
Yeah.
Now there's like physical evidence. Oh, see, you put 100% into this and it still sucks.
Yeah, there's not that excuse of like I didn't really try, or you know, it was something I didn't really care about. It's you sat down,
you gave it 100,
yeah, and it didn't turn out the way you wanted to. Yeah, sometimes, you know.
But that's part of growing pains too, though.
Yeah.
You learn, if you're trying to teach yourself how to do something, or you learn how to do something, everything not gonna be a hit. Everything not gonna be a banger. Now, if you already doing it and then you do that, you might have to reevaluate what you do. Yeah, but if you still learning, then it is what it is.
Your first 100% isn't gonna look like your last 100%.
Exactly.
So just just always be willing to do it.
And I've been like reading up on joke writing and writing pilots and stuff like that. And you know, this author that I'm reading now was talking about, it's called like the Comic Toolbox, I think. And he was talking about how if you are a professional comedy writer, like working on Conan, 1 out of the 10 of your jokes is going to be good enough to even show anybody else. So don't stress out about the fact that there's 9 that suck. The point is you sat down and you wrote enough to where you've got a couple jokes to bring to the table. And why can't it be the same thing with your art too? You know, you shouldn't expect everything to be gold.
Yep. And I feel like that's a really important thing to stress for people in just any facets of life is don't worry about the failures. Look at what you got out of it, like what you learned from the experiences you got from them, and how they kind of helped on your success. And if you keep doing that, you'll be willing to fail more, and you'll be able to get better.
Losses sometimes can be lessons. That's what
And we really would like to thank Ben for being here with us. It was a great interview.
Throw another round of applause in there.
It's funny. I've seen your art and everything. And by the way, all of his links will be in the description down below if you want to check out his T-shirts, his coloring books. We can even throw his socials in there if you want to check out his page. Overall, you'll see some very interesting stuff. There were some T-shirts on there that I was eyeing myself. So make sure to take a look at that, and you can check our socials. They'll also be in the link at the bottom. And we really hope you had as much of a time being here with us that we had talking to you.
It was great. Thank Rick and PLAX. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
And everybody who's watching this, you can catch this on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Music. And as we always say, this is the R&B Podcast.
And we love you guys. Peace.
Bye.